Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, okay. Have you started the live?
Go ahead.
Okay. Um. So, s- where was? Okay. Yeah. A little bit about Dr. Rahul Sonpipre. He is a writer, social advocate, and political thinker whose work explores the intersection of caste, identity, and social justice in India. As the founding president of All India Independent Scheduled Caste Association and the director of Savitribai Phule Resource Center in Nagpur. He is dedicated to amplifying the voices of marginalized communities and challenging systemic inequalities. Dr. Sonpimple holds a master's degree in Dalit and tribal social work from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, along with MPhil and PhD degrees in sociology from Jawaharlal Nehru University. His academic expertise informs his writing, allowing him to bridge scholarly insights with the lived realities of those affected by caste discrimination. Um, some of the contributions of Dr. Sonpimpre's writing have appeared in various prominent media portals, including HuffPost and Al Jazeera, where he addressed pressing issues related to caste and social justice. His unique perspectives on love and politics were featured in The Hindu, and he has participated in numerous interviews with leading newspapers and news outlets, bringing awareness to complexities of caste dynamics in contemporary society. In addition to his articles, Dr. Sonpimbre has delivered impactful lectures on caste and Dalit issues, including the prestigious Ambedkar Memorial Lecture at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Azim Premji University, and Delhi University. He has also contributed scholarly articles to respected journals such as Economic and Political Weekly, EPW, and Sage journals. Um, Dr. Sompimbre is familiar face in media discussions, have participated in debates on channels like NDTV and Times Now, where he articulates the pressing needs of social reform and justices. As the founder of Ambedkarian Chronicle, Dr. Sonpimbre aims to challenge the dominance of Brahmin Savarna narratives by creating a platform for diverse voices advocating for social justices. Through his writing and activism, he continues Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's legacy, reshaping narratives and expanding intellectual inquiry around caste and implications in Indian society. Please help me welcome Dr. Sonpimple. He will be presenting on From Liberation to Commodity, Reclaiming Fullest Vision in the Age of Market-Driven Education. Dr. Sonpimple, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes. Thank you very much for this brief introduction, and thank you everyone, specifically Vasnik ji who approached me for this particular talk, and thank you everyone for being present here. Yes, after the wonderful discussion that Banteji of just brought in front of us, this is something I guess uh, that what I'm going to speak may move beyond what we call spirituality in present context, and the responsibility that I have been assigned to speak about Phule, little bit about his legacy and the present system of education, as well as the work that we are doing in the form of building local ground-based people's institution through Savitribai Phule Resource Center. So yes,
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you have like any presentation to present
oh
for
no,
us? Okay.
I'll be reading what I have actually just written. But yes, as it is not yet, I must say, it's matured enough to share with everyone. I'm still working on this, but I'll read a note that I have prepared for this particular talk. So if you allow me, I can go ahead, right?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay. Like Pranit mentioned about my topic, so I'll go along with it. So, if one reads Jyotirao Phule today, the temptation is to turn him into harmless icon, which generally is happening in, in, let's say, in popular public celebration with most of the icon. So yes, he becomes another portrait garlanded, another chapter in the civics textbook. But this is precisely how ideology, or let's say, in the new liberal capitalist world works. So yes, this is precisely how ideology functions at its most insidious, not by erasing the radical figure, but by domesticating them. So now let's say the state, which is imbued with the capitalist policies, not just directly in the realm of economy, but also in the realm of education. So here you do not simply say, okay, we do not like Phule or we do not want to garland Phule. Oh, but the state would come first and say, oh, okay, there is a community behind this particular icon, or let us now celebrate Phule in a way, the way it would reach or it would become the part of larger celebration. And this is exactly how now what's happening with Baba Sahib Ambedkar, with Phule, or many other icons to whom let's say Ambedkarite community or let's say Bahujan community have been preserving their radical thought. But now how these thoughts have been transformed into domesticating our icon. And this is precisely the ideology today. It's not that now the time is not where you argue, oh, why didn't you celebrate Phule? But it is a time where state would come first before even you and celebrate Phule and your icon with the very intention to dilute their radical thought. And so the first move, a properly, let's say, so what do? They insist that the struggle is not over Phule's memory anymore, but over the meaning of his project in our present symbolic order. So okay, so let me begin with the provocation. So let's say, what if the greatest betrayal of Phule is not overt operation, but success? Success in the form of inclusion into a system that has fundamentally inverted his vision. So as I said, you know, now now the battle is not about recognition anymore. I always say that the culture, that symbolic cultural battle, somehow we have won. So now people who would even abuse Phule or Ambedkar in dining table, communities, people, they would be also coming forward and celebrating Ambedkar and Phule in public, so that it basically it easy to reproduce the order then. So for instance, if I say, if I arguing with the woman, and if she is asking fundamental question of wealth inequality around gender, uh, or the social inequality inscribed into the patriarchal structure. So I as a man, how do I respond? Or I as a modern man, or educated man, how do I respond to reduce that binary, that conflict? I say, oh, yes, yes, you are very right, and therefore, uh, let me say that, let me celebrate Women's Day, or let me say, okay, I also clean vessels, I also cook, and so on and so on. But at the end, the next day, the situation is same, where you see that the majority of women, you would not see holding, let's say, the national wealth and so on, or the institution for that matter. So this is the way now, not to say directly, okay, we do not recognize, but rather now it is the different, the inversion, where you say, oh, we recognize, not just recognize, but we celebrate. And this is how now the project is to basically not remember Phule or his legacy, or when I'm saying Phule, the Phule couple, are not their legacy, but let's say their portrait, let's say, to remember, the day where they born, and and when they died. So yes, so Phule, imagine education as a weapon of emancipation. a tool to shatter caste hierarchy, to produce what we might call epistemic disobedience. But today, under this new liberal state, or let's say new liberal state having the Brahmin Savarna monopoly, education has been recoded as a commodity, a private investment, a means of individual mobility rather than collective transformation. So, what brings to us today, or like what we see in Phule precisely, is basically that pedagogy which simply does not tell you uh, to get literate or to get degree, but precisely Phule's knowledge resembles to the pedagogy which challenges the very structure of operation, or the very language of operation, or the very pedagogy of the operation. And therefore Phule brought the different ideology altogether, where he tried to invert the supremacy of those who would claim that the knowledge is a monopoly. And when we talk about knowledge, knowledge also gives you the everyday wisdom, the everyday belief, and the everyday practices. And therefore Phule's education is not simply about the degree, is not simply about being literate, but basically the pedagogy, as I said, which takes or which talks about the emancipation in in at least in a social sense, if not in a spiritual sense. So fully imagined education as a weapon of emancipation, a tool to shatter caste hierarchy, as I said. But now, as I said, the education has become the commodity, where like for instance, when you walk on the street in India, and then you see, for instance, I live in a slum in North Nagpur, and when I go out from that slum, I see in the colonies or in the highways there are school names with English name, Blossom, or Podar, and so on and so on. What do I see? Do I see simply the big structure, the buses with children holding big bags, the water bottle, and the good dresses, and the parents waiting for the children? Oh, of course I do see this, but what also see, I see the infrastructure of our education, the infrastructure which tells me that there is the birth based inequality, which tells me when these schools enter, these children enter into the school, I also see the thousands and the lakhs of students are uh, pushing out from the school. They have been pushed out from the school. And who are these children? These are the children of those worker who lives in a slum, who lives in a village, a landless laborer. So what do these big school tells me? The big structures tells me. These big structures tells me on very pretext that there is the inherent inequality that I am going to produce. The children who are taking birth in your slums are meant to simply sweep the street or work for some Shetji Bhatji, and on the other hand, the school, the people who can access this material, who children can carry that bag and just flex that the water bottle or the tiffin, are basically meant to be the divine children, the state's new liberal markets divine children, who so in Hindi what we say कि एक गरीब के बच्चे के माथे पे लिखा है कि वो जो है आपका चीप लेबर बनने वाला है, और एक मिडिल क्लास अमीर बच्चे के माथे पे लिखा है कि उसने तो आफ्टर इवन फेलिंग सेवरल टाइम ही और शी विल डू बेस्ट बिकॉज देयर इज अ स्ट्रक्चर फॉर देम. So yes, and this is precisely the Phule brought from his pedagogy when he brought this entire combination of Shetji Bhatji. So for him, the education was not simply, as I said, being literate, but was also to challenge the inherent political economy, which has been protected by the caste system, where so-called Brahmin Savarna always, get the access to monopolize the resources. And moreover, when we talk about caste, we generally reduce caste to mere to touchability and untouchability. And that's how even the popular culture or Dalit, what we call Dalit literature, has always been the reduction to understand the caste system. And that is how even the consumer of such kind of Dalit literature, who may be the upper classes, or people who are sitting there in US or in Europe, who love to read the autobiographies of Dalits, and also the Dalit writer would also get benefit from that system. But what we're missing today is to understand the caste, that the caste is not simply about touchability and untouchability, that you may not even see in many places. For instance, someone would say, oh, I am a Brahmin, but I eat with Dalit. Oh, I'm a Brahmin, but I am married to Dalit. And many such example would tell you. And then you would see, oh, the battle is over. The system is in. And there are only few people who are protecting the system. But no, system has transformed in many other way, precisely with carrying the caste fundamental things. And what are those fundamental things of a caste? Caste can only exist if it is a part of a public, as Baba Sahib also argued. And when I'm using the public, what is public? So how does caste operate? I'm a Brahmin. I practice caste in my own home. I wear jenu. I tell my wife what to do. I tell my children what to do. Okay, that is one part. But this is not how the caste function only. But I make sure that when I come out from my village, my home, I make sure that what we call the village street should not be accessed by those so-called Dalits or the untouchables. I make sure the well that from where I drink water should not be accessed to those excluded people. When I the saloon, who can keep mustache, why Dalit women should not wear good clothes, and who can eat well, the ghee. And Baba Sahib also in one of his book gave this example. So it is about the public, that who owns the public institution, who owns the public infrastructure, and this is how the caste get reproduced. And now you see in many such institution in India, which has been regarded as a modern institution, including IITs and IIM. You see the meager number of SC, ST and also the OBCs in those institutions, not just the students, but in faculty also. And the market, that uh, although there is an attempt by few people to claim that the capitalism can help Dalit, and therefore they came up with this entire idea of Dalit capitalism, which is intellectually poor, at the same time ideologically goes with the ruling class in India, which does not talk about the vast majority of India, and Dalits, Adivasis, and the OBCs are not just educationally backward, but they even struggle for the basic survival, for the everyday survival. Okay, yes. So let me just again go ahead, because I know the time is very limited. We have very limited time today. Yes. So here what we encounter is basically, uh, either we then what do we do? Either we enter into the cynicism, or then either we actually try to go with the, let's say, with the dominant discourse. So what is the cynicism here? So cynicism here is just a mere critique. So for instance, when I know that I cannot win the battle against, let's say, Pranit, and Pranit is very strong, he has monopolized everything. What do? I bring the small act of resistance, which I make fun of him. There is a nice scholar, James Scott, and he has studied the Malaysian peasantry. And if you read him, he talks about the everyday subaltern resistance. But precise, I'm also the critical about the James Scott's understanding of subaltern resistance. Okay, anyway, that is another thing. But what is so as I was saying, if Pranit is the very strong person, Pranit has monopolized all the resources. What do? I know there's an acute awareness in my mind that I am bound to fail in the battle, and the fight against Pranit. So what do then? Because I also have to be there. I have to make sure that I act. So what do? I become cynical about Pranit. I make fun of a Pranit. This is how now we are working. So when there's a and then my followers, or people who are observing me, they also like this cynicism because I'm making fun of Pranit. But next day the situation is same. So for instance, you can make fun of the present government, present regime, or even the people, or the community, or the lobby which is protecting or benefiting from this government. Like, let's say, if I take clear name of Adani and Ambani in India. So what do? You bring the cynicism, you create a laugh, and then next day is same. There is no structural movement on the ground that and you also know that you're bound to fail, and therefore you use the cynicism as a weapon. Cynicism is important, but I think in our time the cynicism has become the only thing, and therefore the stand-up comedy, and therefore little bit some songs and so on, and also they deliberate attempt to make our celebration too grand, so that everyone observes and recognize, and later the next day the situation is same. The person who is sweeping your street belongs to same caste. The man who is dying in your sewer belongs to same caste. A woman who is getting raped, mostly from Dalit and Adivasi community. So the system same the next day. Okay. So and other is those who have crossed these boundaries or have got access to the material resources, they would fall prey for the ruling class or ruling caste discourse. For instance, the meritocracy. For instance, I have heard many times, and my study, my PhD, during my PhD, when I was doing the ethnographic research, I would also meet the upper middle class Dalits, and they would also more or less talk up same language what the upper caste Brahmin and Savarna would talk about Dalit. They would blame the poor Dalit for their poverty. They would say, oh, they don't, they they drink, therefore they don't take education and so on and so on. But they won't tell you that the next school to the slum is been closed down. I mean, in Maharashtra alone, I mean, the lakhs of school has been, government school has been closed down where our first generation got education, and now instead of those government school, there's a private school, and who can access this private school, and many poor also even struggle to send their children to this private school, and somehow they have to work inhumanly, not just for 12 hours, but for 18 hours, and many in this struggle even, not just, they don't just live their life poorly, but they also have to, I mean, if you check the date, I was checking the data of the average uh, um, percentage of living, man, I mean, uh, the death of Dalits, Adivasis, if you check their average age, I mean, it's very, it's come around 40 of 40, 45, if I'm not very wrong. So here also it tells who can live a life. So the state, the government, the system, the ideology, and also our upper class is basically justifying this entire discourse. They would not blame the very system which protects the poverty, but they will blame the poor for their poverty, which is actually the ruling class ideology. Okay. Uh, so here what we encounter, as I said, the cynicism, the idea, and also the popular, the narrative which has been produced by the ruling classes. But Fule's radicality lay in his insistence that knowledge is not neutral. Today we consider education as a neutral. For instance, when we are working through Savitribai Phule Resource Center, so what happens? People, mostly middle class, Dalit or upper middle class, they would want to help, but only help when you only teach. You do not tell them about ideology. But this is not exactly what Phule told us. Phule told us, okay, you have to get education, but education is not neutral. Education is been controlled by the state. So what you read today in school books is not been decided by you, but decided by the state, and therefore you would see uh, the depiction of Ambedkar or the depiction of your other icon is too neutral. It looks like Baba Sahib was so nice. He never became angry. He never, he's, if you if you read his portrayal in these textbooks, it looks like Baba Sahib is simply the good saint, but not someone who would radically challenge the methodology and the pedagogy of the oppressors. So yes, as therefore the education is not the neutral. Education carries that, you know uh, the inherited the ideology which ruling class wants to protect. So it is always, it is already embedded in the power. Those who are in power, they decide what need to be teach, or what need to be taught, and how we should go. So in this sense, what Fulle did, he anticipates what today we can call, what Michel Foucault would later formalize, that regimes of truth are inseparable from the regimes of domination. So what you see truth today is basically also the truth of the ruling class, right? But and this is what Phule wanted to say, that what you observe every day, what you teach every day, what you think in every day is also comes from the ruling class, which Foucault later, I'm not saying Foucault took from Phule, but I'm saying it was a Phule much before Foucault, who spoke about these things, that how regimes of a truth are inseparable from the regimes of domination. But Phule goes further. He does not merely diagnose the problem, he organizes. He builds a school for those excluded. He constructed counter institution. He does not wait for recognition as we today do, but he enacts on it. He actually understood that, okay, the infrastructure. Let's say the Brahmins are running schools or they are controlling school. Phule said, okay, fine. I know that if the children, the Dalit children, the Mahar Matangs, the other lower OBCs today, or the OBCs for that matter today, uh, and then the Shudras and the Ati Shudras. He knew, okay, if they enter in, even if I fight for recognition from this Brahmin and ask them to allow our children into school, they would do the same thing. They would just, make sure that they reproduce the ideology which they want to do. And therefore, Phule did not simply stop on that. He created the counter infrastructure through education. He basically made his own house as a site of rebel, as a site of, the revolution for that matter. And that is something very important for us. Today, the the public binary is too much where, I mean, we know even sometime, uh, I mean, mm, accommodating one person, the needy person. And like for instance, in Nagpur, we are struggling to accommodate our children, our students who come from the interior part. How it is difficult, how people have made their own house as only the space of comfort, but not as a space of, let's say, revolution, as Phule did. Uh, so Phule goes further, as I said, he does not merely diagnose, he organizes, he builds schools for those excluded, he constructs counter institution. He does not wait for recognition, as I said, but he actually acted on that. So now compare this with the present condition. The language of access has replaced the language of justice. We celebrate enrollment number while ignoring what is being taught and for whom. So what happens if you ask government, if you file RTI today and you ask government, okay, what is the percentage of education, the school education, elementary education, government will give you a very good numbers, telling you, okay, look at, in our time there are too many students who are getting primary education, there are students who are even getting PhDs. So from BA directly now you can do PhD. So yes, so state, the new liberal state understand this, and they use this very access of the education, the access, this language of access they use against the very structure that is present there, but they do not tell you what is being taught. So for instance, one of my friend who is now the government officer, we used to study together, and in Nagpur, and then he was telling me, Rahul, his son goes to the school, which does not simply give the formal education, but they also allow them to basically invoke, the innate capacity of a human being by through doing pottery, paintings, and so on and so on. So now what does that tell me? That tells me, okay, uh, in government school, they may increase the number, they may not even fail. Now the new things there, they do not fail student. So there is, you can see too much education is happening. So now we are also working in the interior part of Gadchuri, like in Bamragad and other parts of Gadchuri among Adivasi students. And what we see, there is a huge building, infrastructure is good. You also see students, but what you see that the 10th class students do not even know the basic of 5th standard things. Now, so you see there is enrollment, there is a number, but they know after even studying this, these Adivasis are going to be the cheap labor for again the Shethji Bhattji, or who owns these enterprises or other things. So yes, so now state understand this. You will counter state saying, okay, where is the number? What is the number? And then the state will use this language of access, the language of diversity for that matter. Oh, see, today we have Dalit, today we have even the Adivasi president, but having the Adivasi president at the same time basically killing Adivasis on the ground and also snatching their land. The protest is going on in most of the places in India. But okay, bring that Adivasi president so that you can justify the killings of Adivasi. You can justify the WHO data which says that the Adivasis women, Dalit women in particularly in central India, and also in place like Maharashtra, where the number of women who after even giving birth children to their children, they cannot even feed their children because there is no capacity that they are left with, the malnourishment and so on. But to justify that inequality, to justify this basic right of to give birth to the child and to feed that child, which even animal does, that even basic right is being snatched because of this structural inequality that is happening. Yes, uh, so then you use this language of diversity, you use this language of inclusiveness for that matter. So yes, so now even the university for that matter, once imagine as a list, like ideological place, or we can say the university education as a public good is now increasingly has become the marketplace. So where the degrees are brand now. So I did my PhD from Oxford. At the same time, when I say I did my PhD from Oxford, I also tell the bigger truth. There are lakhs of blacks maybe in the US or in UK or in elsewhere, the marginalized community are not even able to access the basic education for that matter. Or, so yes, when I say I have taken my degree from this Falana institution, so I also speak the deeper truth with that many are not even able to access these gates. So degrees have become brands. Students are customer now, and knowledge is not knowledge, is a content. And here is the paradox. The more inclusive the system appears today, the more it obscures the exclusion. So now, as I said, if you use the language of inclusiveness, if you use this language of diversity, what you do, you obscure the reality. You understand, the reality then has been then hidden in very let's say in ethical sense also for that matter. Now you cannot question them. Uh, so system does not simply exclude by keeping people out today. It exclude by including them also sometime on terms that neutralize their transformative potential. So now that has also in many ways the reservation has done to Dalits, that when Dalit they become the part of larger bureaucratic system, they do not simply we always say oh, reservation is about representation, but I don't see. But what does that mean? That means that the person who has taken this state welfareistic benefit through reservation will try to represent his community, would try also to protect the rights of his community. But sadly that has not happened in bigger way. We know the case of Kherlanji where it was mostly Dalits officer who were complicit to protect the people who did that the inhuman atrocity. And there are many such examples. For instance, today you see the IPS officer from Dalit community commit suicide, but you do not see single IPS officer even speaking about it publicly. You see Dalits is been officer who has been vocal is been demotivated, but other Dalit IS officer they keep mum on that, right? So what they expect? They expect slum people would go on the street and fight for those IS officer and their children, who again will be the beneficiary of the reservation for that matter. So yes, so now this is so if you want to become a part of a system, you have to neutralize, and this happens with this, let's say this through this negotiation of between the master and the slave, and the Dalit would consciously sometime also, not sometime, many times play this the class in classical sense, the very neutralize slave, right? So how do we? But the question then, how do we reclaim Phule's legacy today? Not by nostalgia alone, or not by returning to some imagined purity, but by radicalizing his gesture. We must ask some uncomfortable question. What would it mean to treat education not as a leader but as a site of sangharsh? What Phule would use the word, or the struggle for that matter. What would it mean to refuse the reduction of knowledge to employability? What if we start talking up like this? What if, let's say, what we call in popular sense Dalit discourse, or let's say Ambedkar discourse, we just treat education as the neutral, as the neutral commodity, or like we celebrate the few success stories. While we celebrate those few success stories, we also very very consciously also want to become blind toward the majority who and precisely government, uh, like I'll give the example. If you see most government, state government, including central government, you see every year there is reduction in the education budget. But then there will be an IS officer from government, from Dalit community, who would be handling social justice thing. He would bring some white monk, and he would do all this, drama, and he would also show you some success story because he's a part of a state and the, aligned with the ruling classes or ruling caste. but that person will not tell you that how the majority of Dalits have become unemployable. How the major is it is the study which tells by Jim Premji, university. They have done the recent study and where they have argued that the unemployment, you talk about unemployment, but they say it is not a neutral. Unemployment among educated is high among SCs and STs and among OBCs. But yes, state does not want to hear all these things. But do we, as Ambedkarite, as Phuleite for that matter, want to invoke this uncomfortable question and ask state? So Phule's vision was not about producing better workers. It was about producing subjects capable of challenging the very structure of a society. In today's term, this would require reimagining our curriculum itself, the pedagogy and also the institution as a space of a dissent rather than the conformity. And perhaps the most uncomfortable question, uncomfortable inclusion is basically this: reclaiming Phule may require us to give up on the idea that education alone can save us. This too is an ideological fantasy. The belief that systematic contradiction can be resolved through individual enlightenment. Fully understood that education must be linked to the broader struggle, therefore social, economic, cultural and political. So the task is not to simply apply Phule as he were like a toolkit. The task is to repeat him in a precise sense of repetition, not imitation, but reactivation, and to betray him in order to remain faithful. Because the real question is not how do we honor Phule, but the real question is, are we willing to risk the kind of transformation that his vision still demands? So that is something very important. We may remember Phule in his Jayanti, we may remember Ambedkar. Someone told, I'll just give my one example. Last time we were in Pune and we are also working in Pune. We have a Dalit upper middle class who would come for meditation and do Buddha Vandana. There was a program. I gave a speech. Some of our other leaders also gave a speech, and they are this middle class Buddhists. They would ask us, "Oh, why are you so angry?" Sometimes I wonder if they read Ambedkar very carefully, if they listen his speech, they would also label him as an angry man, because now they are into meditation. They want to see the truth inside while blurring the harsh reality out there. Next to their colony there is a slum. Next to their city there are villages. So in order to blur this uncomfortable reality of like to blur this uncomfortable question, we also go into this, or we have made the entire thing as a commodity, not just education, but even the entire existence has become somehow of the commodity for us. And now therefore the real question is not just to remember Phule, but to also remember the confrontation that he did. Or maybe we should also ask ourselves, are we angry enough with the system, with the injustice that is happening? Last thing I will tell you about our work, we through All India Independent Scheduled Caste Association, we have decided to basically intervene into the community through education. And as I said, our education is not simply about entrance exam. Of course, we do that, but our education is also about telling our students that the reality out there when you reach to the institution is not very simple. And reality is also there where you are not simply coming to us by taking the scholarship. And once you are done with that, then you only look after your children, your wife, or your husband. But there is a reality that very few like you would get benefit of this institution that we are building. But your responsibility is basically go back to your places, help us to build this larger, public infrastructure or the counter infrastructure as Pune did, to build this ground-based education movement, or to build the movement per se on the ground. So yes, if you visit Nagpur, we have a center there. If you visit Gadchiroli, we have two centers there. If you visit Chandrapur, we have center there. If you visit Bhandara, we have center there. If you visit Gondia, we have center there. If you visit Pune, we have center there. If you visit Mumbai, we have center there. If you visit Navi Mumbai, we have center there. And now in coming 6 months, we have decided that we will cover all the districts of Vidarbha and at least 5 districts of Marathwada, including Aurangabad, Beed, Latur, and also the Parbani and other district from Marathwada and Western Maharashtra. And we also started working in Bihar among the Musahar community and other Dalit community. On this 14 April, we inaugurated our first center there. We are also looking to work in Odisha, in Chhattisgarh, in Madhya Pradesh, and all other places where we think our community is struggling for basic things. Yes, and we do not take any funding from government, because we know the moment you take funding from the government, you are obliged to the government. We do not take funding from CSR and so on. We completely believe that the community should come forward to help us, and therefore we work among our activists. They go to slums, they take 1 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, or whatever people want to contribute, because it's a people's movement. It should run by the people. That's how, and we know that it is challenging, because on the one hand the government is closing the lakhs of government school, on the other hand government wants to give crores of rupees to NGOs, so that there should be no resistance from the community, and then government will also award me to take the award for my good work, and this is how the system is working. But we know that the person who has been awarded with a government award, we celebrate that, but that celebration, as I said, also tells you the other stories where this number of government school has been closed down. So our struggle is not just to give the education, but also to tell our people, to bring this real question to your people: boss, why this government school has been closed down for this poor? So this is something very important, which I believe has become kind of a silent feature of post Ambedkar movement in India, or most particularly in the Maharashtra. So yes, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Sonpipre. It was really amazing, different perspective you bring. I really understand, it was really interesting to me to come from different perspective to achieve single goal through various stages like macro practices in social work. Thank you so much again. Now I would like to invite members. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, or you can also chat in the chat box.
Okay, I will go first. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. You touched so many points. Thankful to you. But I will take one or two because the positive time and we are having 40, other members. I don't want to take their time. One important thing which you missed, according to me, is while living through all the gauntlets of the state and the system and everything is welcome sign. You are doing the right thing because the essence of life is living through, not living in it. To that, you are very, very strong in saying that we, JBM community, after Phule, after, Ambedkar, what next? When you look at these issues, you are very clear. You are very clear. I'm very happy about it. That is, we have to be liberate our minds from this Macaulay education system or the new, Trump, whatever it may be. Now, my simple question is this: that may not be adequate, Rahul, because I am a climate resilient man, I am a spaceman, and I am also a disaster management man. Please consider one issue that the community for thousands of years has been living through all the gauntlets, whether it is disaster, whether it is up late, the climate issues, of course, the inequality, which is being perpetuated for centuries altogether. So, in simple terms, I want to close by saying that please do consider what the community is doing for these serious issues like climate change, disaster, and inequality. Because I am one of the review member for World Meteorological Organization, wherein hundreds of community-based and nature-based solutions are reviewed. I want to finally thank you. It's a very good presentation. I look forward to have a contact with you, kindly share your email. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Uh, I guess this I can answer, Prince, right? Or are we taking more question?
Um, if you want to answer that question, please feel free
Yeah,
to do
because
that.
it's a
And then we have
yeah.
two more.
I'll just answer shortly. So yes, thank you very much for this for the question of climate change and its consequences. I would suggest you to read our issue on caste and climate change on the Ambedkarian Chronicle. There are brilliant articles, brilliant research articles also that few from our community people have contributed, and I guess there is a good scholarship that is building around caste and climate. I hope you will read those scholars also. My only point is, yes, we do not take a climate as a neutral issue, but we also see the how climate or the climate change or the consequences of a climate change are also the bound to class and the caste boundaries. For instance, I'll just give the one example. When there was a debate going on around the pollution in capital of India in Delhi, so you also see that there was a lot much marketing around the air purifier. I was wondering what would those people in Simapuri, mostly the Valmiki community and the other Dalit community, how would they survive in that climate or the climatic condition where they cannot even afford to buy any such air purifier. So yes, but yes, to take this discussion further, I will definitely contact you, and I would again request you to read our special issue on caste and climate on the Ambedkarian Chronicle. Thank you.
Many thanks for that insight. I'll go through it. Okay, let others also ask questions. Please share your email, and I would like to be in touch with you. Thank you.
I will do. Thank you. Thank you.
You can maybe share your email in the chat box and they can just copy and paste. Um, so next one is Nishi, and then we'll go on to Harishchandra.
Yeah, thanks, brother Rahul, for the session. I joined it a little bit late, but it was a great pleasure to hear and the kind of points that you have raised. I first saw you in one of the television debates, maybe it was in NDTV, and really loved the points that you raised. And it's glad to see that the kind of organization you have raised, and especially some of the points that you have raised, especially about the municipal schools closing down and the responsibility of the educated uh, community or section of our community not playing that part. And we did had a survey done with our brother Priyadarshi Telang, in which even our Anna also funded, and wherein just to get the details about the various municipality schools in Pune, they were suppressing so much details, right? Like including how many students actually are on paper and actually who attend. So it was really
Yeah.
tough task, and they don't display those kind of numbers, right? So
Hmm.
that is one part, and it was really a tough thing, and I think you have rightly highlighted that point. Okay, so my thing is, like, one is on this front, like what kind of actions your organizations are taking, especially all India scheduled caste organization. And secondly, what kind of suggestions would you have so that we include our educated community, especially who got higher education, to contribute more? And I'm from Aurangabad, and I would be glad to support your organization, in Marathwada. So I think that's great news.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for this encouragement. Yes. As far as what suggestion we can give, we can also discuss if you share your number with me.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, so we can have a detailed talk over a call. And as I said, what we are doing at least in Maharashtra, which became the kind of, or the, I must say, ki when we through All India Independent Scheduled Caste Association (ISCA), when we decided to work on this particular part, which is education. So how do we work? So the ISCA is the main body which categorize people, and most of these people who are handling this work on a grand scale on a ground, as basically are not simply people who are just there working. No, they have also been categorized well, that what challenges they will face, how they have to engage with community, and so on.
Mhm.
Because as I said, we do not treat education simply as a commodity, but as a part of a movement. So we decided, so that is one thing. Other thing, we said, Maharashtra becomes a very, let's say, the very easiest place also sometime for us. Why? Because there is a good community public infrastructure. What is that public infrastructure? Is Buddha Vihara. So if you visit even the interior slum, or the big colony where Dalits are living there in cities, you see Buddha Vihara. And therefore we decided we already have the good public infrastructure, but yes, of course, these Buddha Viharas are quite passive. Mostly old ladies, they would come in the evening or in morning, and they would just, unlike church or masjid for that matter, which are in other way are very active in terms of, giving common message, or the creating homogeneity within the community. Buddha Viharas are quite passive, we saw, and therefore for us it became easy, at the same time tough also, because this Buddha Vihara community has also been very localized, where these Kaka Kaku, they want to fight for recognition,
Yeah.
or our people are also quite traditionalist. So, so yes, but that is the challenge, and we are facing, and we are also overcoming at many places. So then we decided to basically use this Buddha Vihara. So it becomes the point of intervention directly into the community, rather creating hostel somewhere in the isolation, where the the aspired people, or those who are already aspired to do something, will come and study. Our idea was basically, in slums and in villages, the majority of our poor, they do not want to study anymore, not just because they don't want to study, but there is no infrastructure to you know go for a study, and therefore there is a huge dropout. So we said we will work with those who are basically lost any hope, in their life.
Yeah.
And so yes, so that is also one challenge we are facing. So this is how we are working, and it helped us, and now it is helping us slowly. Slowly, we are able to tell people, okay, we too have a hope. Maybe we do not have a big private school for your children, but through your 1 rupees, 2 rupees, we can make this Buddhaware as a site of education, and and we also even got result in our first batch in Nagpur. Around 40 students have admitted into different premier institution in India. Uh, Around 4 students have also gone to abroad to study and other things. So we decided, okay, if this is working in Nagpur, this can also work in other places, and we decided to spread, and we are spreading. Now, as I said, we started working in Bihar, among Musar community particularly, and there on this 14 April only we inaugurated. In Bihar, we are now basically trying to build a core group and the committee and people through categorization, and spread across wherever there is in those districts who are densely populated by Dalit, so that we mobilize them, and those resources we can use where Dalits are in minority. So yes,
Yeah. Sure. Thanks, brother, for the information.
yeah, thank you very much.
The next one is Harishchandra. Harishchandra ji, you can unmute yourself.
I guess Harish
I think.
is not able to hear. You can move to another question.
Yeah, Anand, thanks for raising your hand. You
Hello.
can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
Anand.
Yeah.
we have Harishchandra ji. Sorry, Anand. Yeah, Harishchandra ji,
Can
go
I
ahead and
speak
ask your
or
question.
somebody else
Yes.
is speaking already?
No, you can go ahead and ask your question. Thanks.
This is Harish Chandra Sukhdeve. Can I speak or somebody else is already
No,
speaking?
no, go ahead, go ahead,
Actually,
please
I
go
have a
ahead.
very network, so I'm getting confused if somebody is speaking. Oh, yeah, yeah. Jai Bhim, Rahulji.
Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim.
I joined little late, so maybe I missed some part. Somebody mentioned you spoke on that, and also prepared to speak on that. And this 14th January, I
No,
was
I didn't
talking
speak
to
about
some.
Macaulay education. Somebody, I
Oh,
guess,
really? Somebody,
from the
somebody,
Dewan
somebody said
No,
that
mentioned that.
you.
I did mention it because it
Oh,
was
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
clearly. I'm Professor
Yes,
Jagannath.
yes,
I
yes.
only mentioned it
Okay,
because
okay,
it was
okay. It's
Macaulay's
okay, okay.
system which.
I got it.
Okay, please carry on. Please carry on.
I got it. I got it. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Let me speak, please. I heard somebody mentioning. So, as I said, I had missed some initial part of your speech because of network issue. What I want to, you are doing really very good job, very good work connecting, opening your various centers in various places, and I'm following your messages through the groups, WhatsApp groups, um, and it's good that you are spreading your centers to Bihar also among Mushas. Rahul, I live in Nagpur, and there are many activities you are doing in Nagpur also in my home district in Bandar also. So I had dropped one message that I would like to get connected with your activity. Now about this education, I listened to whatever I could listen to your speech a little later. But you rightly identified the malaise with education system in India. It is getting I mean, privatization and commodization of the whole system, and it is being treated as commodity rather than the public good. Of course, many of us are working on this, and one way is bringing in more people into education the way you are doing through centers in the localities where they need it most. The what are the other measures? I mean, how can we kind of challenge this national education policy and the way it is being uh, 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 implemented, and the very serious structural damage is being done through this education system. The structural damage to the constitution was prevented by defeating that delimitation uh, amendment bill. But about education, because this doesn't go to the parliament, it never went to the parliament for discussions, the education policy. So how do we deal with this? Can you guide us with your experience and research experience? Probably, please.
Yes. No, no, this is
Could I
something
make
very
it clear?
important. Yes, 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 very clear and very
Hmm.
important question. Very,
Yeah.
pertinent also. Yes, of course, and this is precisely what you also said, that how it never came or never became the part of the parliamentary discussion. Uh,
Hmm.
and precisely this is, I also, because I know there are some institutions or NGOs who are working on this, and they would go for legal things or some legal advocacy and so on. But I
Actually,
believe that,
I am also working on the same topic. We are
okay,
still contemplating to go challenge it in the
go,
Supreme Court
yeah,
through
yeah,
PIL,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but precisely now, I mean, I don't want to sound, very, negative here, but as far as I understand, the education, the state, and the even judiciary, they are working in tandem with this. I do not think that there will be much of, I do not have much of hope from the judiciary to challenge
Mhm.
the government order or the government policy in this matter. But of course, the legal activism could be one thing. I'm not discouraging you to do that. On the other hand, what I
Mhm.
believe that this has to become the popular demand, and the popular demand cannot be again the neutral. Now there are some organization who would agree on this point. Okay, this should become the popular demand or the popular narrative, and then therefore they would work. But if you even work without having a target group, then it will not become the proper narrative. Now again, that's what I said during last in the last election. I was observing of from
Mhm.
opposition. Of course the issue was good, saying that we should save the constitution because the present regime is against the constitution. Okay, but saving
Yeah.
constitution, what does it mean? It actually did not carry any particular demand. So for instance, this issue, the education, the new education policy, the privatization of education has not become or the popular demand or the popular narrative among Ambedkarites or what we call Dalit Bojan community. This should become, and like if the Savidhan, saving Savidhan becomes the popular thing, why don't these issues become the popular thing? Precisely because we do not talk about it. What I believe that this has to be done not by so-called neutral organization, but by the Ambedkarite organization on the ground, the program, the sabhas, the rallies, or whatever we say, to make this as a popular
Mhm.
demand. Unless it is related to certain community, government will not hear this. So if there is the issue which is neutral, because education, as I said, been treated as a neutral, if you do not relate the new
Yeah,
education policy and how it is affecting to particular community like SC, ST, OBC,
very true, very true. It is a
and
neutral issue so far as
government will
government is
not listen
concerned.
this.
That is right.
Yes, MP
Yeah.
will not listen this because they know, because for them everything is vote. They, if they think okay, the this community votes for this particular thing, then they will do. So they know that the Dalit community on gets happy with the statue, they will build statue. They know Dalit community get happy with celebrating Jayanti, they will do that. But if they come to know, okay, they are also get happy or they are more serious about why the government school is closing down, why the new education policy is affecting most to the marginalized. So this is the way we should. So in our centers when we talk, we also run Monday to Friday. We run classes for entrance, and Saturday we invite resource
Mhm.
person. Sunday we do Sunday for Baba Saheb Ambedkar. So where we basically try and get
Okay.
community people more than children, and in that discussion after Buddha Vandana and other things, what we do, we also
Mhm.
discuss a
Yeah.
topic which is affecting community the most. So that's how in the initial phase we want to
Well,
put this thing in their
yeah.
mind. Yeah, yeah,
Now, let me, a little follow-up experience and question. Because we have been working on these policies ever since its draft was released in 2019. And for last initial 3 4 years we have been till the corona, and even after corona we have been doing public rallies, public meetings, public awareness, this that, all those things. But somehow it has never catched the imagination of people to raise their
yeah,
voice. Again, as you said, it is a neutral issue. It doesn't affect any religion. It doesn't affect any particular caste. It doesn't affect any
yeah,
particular community section.
yeah,
So in this such kind of a scenario, creating kind of a public struggle, it really is really very difficult. We
yeah,
other day we were discussing in Nagpur in one of the meetings, and they said we should. Somebody was suggesting we should change the government. So I said, okay, go ask for votes in the name of education, and there will be
we will
counter
not go.
asking of votes in the name of religion.
Yeah,
So who will be elected? And that the votes asked in the name of religion will be successful, and very few people will vote in the name of education. So that is the point. That's the problem with society. So how do we tackle this? Maybe session may not be too. It will
yeah.
go
We'll
too
see.
long. But
I
can
have
you
shared my number in the
briefly
chat.
tell us
Chat.
something about
Yes.
this?
Yes, yes. I have, sir. I have shared my number in the chat group, and you please, you
Oh
can
yeah.
contact me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll contact some of your one of your centers in Nagpur because I live in Nagpur, so it will be easier for me.
Sure,
And
sure,
you're doing good
sure.
job. Lot of
Thank
activities
you.
in Nagpur also. So sure,
Thank
I
you.
will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm done. Thank you. Somebody else may ask.
Thank you, Harishchandraji. Anand, you may please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rahul, for a wonderful talk. And I just want to congratulate you first for all the initiatives you have been running. It's extremely difficult for one person to run a single initiative, and you have three of them running simultaneously. You have AISCA, which
Yes.
takes up issues for the community. You have Savitri Resource Center, which is doing so much in the field of education. You have Ambedkar Chronicle also, which is doing independent media work for our community. So it's great job what you are already doing. My question was about the model for Savitri Resource Center. So is it like the students who come to the classes, are they given something like school tuition, or is it like they are trained for competitive exams, or is it for higher education? Or is it entirely that along with this, you couple it with ideological education, which is lacking in our system at present? We have so many students in IITs, IIMs, so many places, all the institutes we have our quota full, but we do not have students who have this ideological orientation about the movement and what they have to do, and how are they responsible to contribute. So is it that education which is done at the center, or is it that community events are celebrated and people come together there? So, and also I want to know, is it like an year-long engagement or a monthly based engagement with students? Is it residential, or only the day schoolers come? And how do you select the students across India, or only local students join? This was one of the questions I wanted to ask. Yeah.
Yes. No, thank you, Anand. Thank you very much. So yes, how do we do? Like for instance, in Nagpur now, earlier in first batch, it was kind of mostly were engaging with the local slum students, but now we have kind of uh, opened it for other states, and mostly now students from Bihar, from Odisha, from Rajasthan, they have, and from UP also. So we have also welcomed them, and we are giving them the residential facilities. And we don't have any our hostel, but we have rented out one hostel. And for boys, we have actually rented out some few houses there, and we are paying for those rent, because in a community there is still that feeling is not still there. You know, there are few individuals only that to give something. So yes, so we have rented out all these hostels and places. So that is one thing. So we run now. We are basically mostly as of now we are focusing on the entrance exams for various universities for graduation and post graduation, and also for the higher education, PhD, and so on. Uh, so it is so the how so the classes basically we run classes accordingly this entrance exam. So yes, from Monday to Friday, uh, for instance the maths, English, reasoning, whatever is required for the entrance exam in every centers. So that is one thing. On Saturday, as I said, we invite resource person. So we try to invite resource person who would also speak about little bit about ideology and things. But yes, of course, in everyday classes, there is one session which is generally the editorial section, which we generally try and understand it through our ideological framework. So most of our educators, they're also well trained, so they would speak about, they would take editorial of and which is also very important for entrance exam. But we would use that editorial uh, to basically make understand our student our ideological point. So for instance, sir just mentioned about new education policy. So I remember there was an article which I taught to student when I was in Nagpur, and I was trying to tell them how what is education, and how does it works within the larger political economy, uh, so that the student also understand the article. On the other hand, they also understand the politics behind these policies. So I was also trying to speak about how does policy get forms, and what are the intention of policy, what is the language of policy, what is the discourse behind the policies. So this is how we work. And then as I said, we have Sunday for Baba Saheb Ambedkar, where we try to bring students, also the community, and also then after that we try and engage with the particular topic which is affecting most to the communities. So overall the place becomes both for the education, for a mobility. On the other hand, it also becomes a place of or the site of ideology or the ideological discourse. So this is, I guess, you also asked something else, I'm forgetting. Anand, can you repeat the last things you?
Yeah, I think that's it, Rahul. This is what I wanted to
Yeah.
know. I just want to thank you for taking up these initiatives, and I can actually wonder how difficult it might be to do all these things, running so many centers. The expenditure might be running in lakhs of tens of lakhs of rupees,
Oh
and I
yes,
just
it
hope
is.
the community comes together to build a model to fund such initiatives which have been taken up by wonderful people like you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you very much. Yes, of course, it takes a lot. I mean, in terms of a fund. If I tell here very explicitly, now we're in need of, if we want to sustain our activities. Uh, Now in Nagpur, most of these students come from poor family where they are not even able to meet their two times meal in a day. So we are also now we are just giving them tiffin, but we are planning to rent a place where we can hire a cook, and we can cook in a bigger way where we can feed our student. So yes, it's challenging. Now for that we need to generate resources to make sure that our students do not suffer from any uh, basic necessity. It requires a lot, and yes, but I'm hoping that people will support, people will help us in this. Yes. Yes.
Rahul,
So
thank you for joining the call. Here is Mahesh Vasnik, and if you remember that we invited you couple times on the online Viara when you are at the JNU doing
yes,
PhD. During that time also you joined there. After before you starting this initiative, you joined that time in the COVID, and now you are
yes.
executing these initiatives and good centers. So you join. So our support is always there. You are doing a wonderful job, wonderful work. Keep doing it, and we are there to support. Last time you talk about the Japanese classes and you inquire me.
Oh yes,
I will
yes.
definitely share those contact. I am also Japanese speaker.
Oh
Uh,
great.
yeah, yeah. I live there and I speak Japanese fluently. So if you need any help, definitely I will connect with you because there are a lot of ANA initiatives also going in Bulthana area and other
Hmm.
places. So we can connect and utilize the same resources instead of
Yes,
creating the new thing. So we will connect
yes.
offline. But
Of course,
thank you
of course.
for joining.
Yes,
And you are doing
yes, yes.
wonderful job. Please do it. There will be some criticism here and there, but don't worry. We'll
Oh,
move
I
on.
don't bother about criticism. Of course, they're good to go with. So yes, of course. Thank you very much, Vasnik ji, for your support and for this opportunity. And thank you everyone for listening me. I would in the last would like to request you, as Anand also said, and as I said, we do not take any fund from government or CSR. We are completely depend upon the people's contribution. So I would urge and request you to help us to build this ground-based education movement for poorest of poor from Bahujan communities, Dalit Bahujan communities. So with this note, once again, thank you everyone. Jai Bhim, uh, Jai Savitri, Jai Phule. I can I can leave, right, Vasnik ji?
No,
Rahul,
there
thank
is
you
one
very
more
much.
question from Vijay Bagdeji. So he would like to, Vijayji, please
Okay.
unmute yourself and please. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, Jai Bhim, Rahul Bhai. It was wonderful
Jai Bhim.
talk. Actually, it was very radical views you have put forward. For it was a thought-provoking talk, I would say. And you have touched some challenging aspects for the movement. On that note, uh, one of the aspect you said this is purely a community funded project or movement which is running at the grassroots and slum areas. Now our challenge is how to sustain that project, and you already made an appeal or request on various groups. So
Yeah.
my appeal to all the Ambedkarites groups or the social groups, come forward and join hands with Rahul's movement and make it our social project as a, we would say, what is called a dream project, so that it will be exemplary to other movements. It will be a community self-sustained project, so that we are not liable to the government. We can daily ask the questions to the government, and we can make it success. So that is how I wanted to make this note on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bagreji. This means a lot to us. Yes. So I hope we will receive support from this group, from other our Ambedkarites, brothers and sisters. Yes, and I would also like to request to whoever, like, if you guys come to Nagpur or other places where we are running center, I would like to request you, please visit our centers, visit, interact with our students. So they'll be very happy to see our people, specifically who are living in abroad, doing good in life. I guess that will give them some encouragement also. So yes, once again, thank you very much, Vasnik for this
Rahul, one
opportunity.
last word. Rahul, one last word. I would like to visit
Yes,
your center, number one. Number two, after listening to so much of discussion on the funding and support, I have one suggestion to make. We have got our own model. We started in COVID time with Mahabodhi, Mysore. For 3 years, we worked with the students, and for 2 years, we worked with Navodaya schools. And having the infrastructure and pull out, for example, weekly Buddha Viharas and virtual space education, you are able to do big difference. No cost, no
yeah.
cost, and self study, and you are your light. That sort of an approach. So that is also we would like to share, and I want to see and learn from your experience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to Anna.
Yeah.
Thanks to Anna and everybody.
No problems. Sorry, friends, we are running out of time. Generally, we are planning to close at 12 because it's a Sunday and many people has their own things to do. But on behalf of Ambedkar Association, I would like to thank you, Bhanteji, for joining the call. And also our speaker, Rahul Sonpimple. Thank you for joining the call and give us such a good information. And it's education. That's our first mantra that we are all need to learn together, and you are doing it on the ground level. So thank you for taking this initiative and taking it to the next level. And we are here to support you. And there are a lot of members also interested. So I will share your contact to them. So they will
Yes.
also connect you offline. And also, of course, the member who joined on the call. There are a lot of members who joined today and supported this online Viera since 2001. I would like to thank you them for joining every time. Uh, so on that note, thank you everyone for joining. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddha, and see you next week, same time.
Thank you. Jai Bhim. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddha.